Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the ULoL Campus Series. Tonight, my name is Octavian. My name is Octavian every night, but I'm going to be joined tonight by the wonderful Fekes on the mic besides me. Not really, he's actually a few thousand miles away. I'm lying to you. And we are going to be joined by the wonderful teams Kansas University and Kansas State University. That state is critical. These teams are not to be confused with one another, and they'll be very angry at you if you do, because they have had a long-standing rivalry, and now they're going to be taking it on to Summoner's Rift. For those of you perhaps familiar with these teams, you may know of something called the Sunflower Showdown, which has been going on since, I'm told, the early 1900s, which is quite a pedigree, and often has these teams pitted against one another on more traditional fields, like baseball fields and football fields and other fields, but they're going to be on the field of justice tonight. And I'm going to give Fekes a chance to introduce himself here because I've been waxing over long.
Hi, I'm Fekes.
Yes, he is.
Everything Octavian said was completely true. No, okay, so one of the fun things about this is that, yeah, it's been raging on for quite a while. And yeah, like you said, various kinds of fields, pretty much any NCAA sport, football, of course, basketball. But none of those actually allow you to kill your opponent. This one does. So I expect a lot more intensity on the Rift tonight. We are getting into pick and ban phases, though. Malachi, Kazakhs, and Malzahar hit with the ban on the other side from, I believe that is Kansas State University. They are being hit with, or they're taken out, I should say, LeBlanc, Camille, and still waiting on that third one. But before we go into the too many picks and bans, this is actually on patch, what is that, 7.3, I believe it is? Yeah, 7.3. A lot of champions got nerfed, and Rengar was actually one of them. So I'm anxious to see how University of Kansas can play this one.
Yeah, still some faith in the Rengar pick. Still quite a bit of faith in the Rengar pick if they're putting that much priority on it, grabbing it right off the bat, especially with a few jungle bans already in the picture. We'll see what the take home is in response to this. You're the analyst tonight, Fekes. You're going to be doing the color casting, but I still
Godspeed.
I'm sure you'll handle it perfectly well. But I am of the opinion myself that actually, while a lot of emphasis is placed on first pick, and it is very important that first champion to start shaping the pick bans, I do think that something perhaps often overlooked, is the next two picks to come after it, because you can, if you're a crafty team, actually grab twice as much power in those first two picks, and it's that sort of imbalance there between the early picks that can lead to a really, really interesting draft. But that may be all a bit technical as we get into the Rek'Sai lock-in and a Katarina, which I'm excited for already.
I mean, no, and you're definitely right. I mean, that's what the whole pick and ban phase is all about, just mind games, essentially trying to place all your chess pieces in order to get the best result. And I mean, that's essentially what you got 6 bans. We're going to go to 5 pretty soon once they update it on the live client. You see it in Pro Play, and hasn't quite hit here yet. But, I mean, that's essentially the bans. Hey, you want to take away the power picks, not just the power picks in the meta, but the power picks away from your enemy, and counter pick and try to, especially if your first pick, take away one extra power pick. But yeah, on the other side of that, that leaves potentially, if there's any left, 2 power picks for the second team that picks second. Now, with that being said, there's only so much power as far as the meta is concerned. Now, one thing I'm actually I'm surprised to not see is a Zyra so far. We haven't seen her counterpicked by Misfortune nowadays. It's very easy to take down her plants with Make It Rain, and of course you can use double up against the plants as well. And not to mention, Misfortune is one of the few supports. I can't believe I'm even calling her a support. One of the few supports that actually matches Zyra in power. So surprised to not see that one, but again, could be counterpicked if they wanted to. If University of Kansas wanted to counterpick it, but you're talking about, again, let's go back to power picks. We're actually seeing a lot of power picks on Kansas University. We have Rengar, who, got nerfed, still powerful. Katarina, who I believe also got a little bit, but no, actually the nerf went over her. I think it was the last patch she got hit a little bit, but she's still picked up. Varus is a very meta utility ADC, able to use the chains of corruption to lock down everyone within a good radius and keep himself safe. Not to mention poke from the backlines. Karma's going to be able to keep him safe. So there's a lot of good power on the side of Kansas University. University of Kansas. Sorry about that. And while on Kansas State. Sorry about that. Kansas State University. You seem to have kind of niche picks almost, except for the Corki, who has been seeing a bigger rise in the mid lane. Everything else seems more like Vi. You have an idea of what Vi is going to do. You want to dive in the back, but you don't see that. She's not typically meta anymore. But I'm talking about meta. Ringar's top lane for University of Kansas. So what the hell do I know?
Indeed, that is a Rengar top and not a Rengar.
Yeah, I noticed
that I was wanting to get in there. But we've also got a few more things that I want to go over before we get into the spectator delay here, which is to say, I'm just a little worried about Ace's Katarina. You glossed over that a little bit as you were going through your analysis here of the pick ban. Katarina does not really play nice with a Janna and a Vi and a Nautilus. CC is the antithesis of that champion. She does not do well in a team fight where she's not allowed to get her Death Lotus off, which is an identity that she actually kept through her rework. Rework aside, she's just kind of a little bit more reliable now with the ability to jump around with Shumpo onto bounced daggers, so she doesn't need allies or enemies to leap to necessarily. But still, point and click CC is her nemesis. One way or another, though, we've got 2 minutes left on the spectator delay, and we've got plenty of time to dissect these teams once they get onto the Rift, and we'll see how well they can dissect one another. Give us just a few moments, folks. We're going to cut to a short commercial break and be right back.
An ideal is nothing.
All right, welcome everybody to the Rift as we get into the first game here for the ULoL campus series between Kansas University and Kansas State University. For those of you confused by the similar names, Kansas University will be the ones with the blue health bars and Kansas State the ones with the red. Now my name is Octavian and I am joined by the ever faithful Fekes, who's going to be doing some color casting for me tonight. And let me just rearrange the overlay here just a little bit as we get some action to start the match off.
Yeah, Masklink already walking into a little bit of a world of pain here. And, yeah, just going to make him go back. It's too early to really do anything. Don't want to commit too hard to that. It was just Chinny. Honestly, if that was more members of Kansas, likely would have got a first blood there, at least gotten a flash out of Masklink, but it's going to be all right. Just, like I said, too early to really do anything. No summoners blown.
Yeah, Rengar may be scary in terms of damage, but he doesn't have a lot to lock you down, at least not at level 1. It's going to be a pretty standard start from both sides as Chilling takes an early base to recover the few lost hit points he had as well. And Chenny's going to find Neil up in the bush up here. And what are your thoughts on the lane Rengar? You were surprised by it at the end of the pick ban. What do you think this matchup is going to pan out?
I don't think Rengar belongs in a lane. I mean, he thrives on hitting that level 6. You know, obviously, he thrives on bursting people, but hitting that level 6, getting through all the hunt and making his way through the jungle into an enemy lane and surprising them, bursting them down. You can't really do that to a Nautilus. So I suspect he's going to be helping out Ace quite a bit, or maybe even try to counter jungle the King a little bit, maybe help out XY. But it is interesting. He actually doesn't have crowd control immunity anymore for 1.5 seconds. They actually took that away in this patch with the nerfs to Rengar. So, like I said, it's an interesting pick to play him up top. But I mean, he's still powerful. They reduced his burst a little bit, but you can see he is still chunking I Am Neil. I mean, it's early, and he has one of the most powerful level 1s, but he can still do damage.
Yeah, and I'd say that level 1 and even the level 2, 3, just the early levels in general, before Neil gets to base and pick up an armor item, is going to be what's most critical for this lane, because that's the time in which Chenny can start to get rolling. And if a Rengar really gets ahead, lane or not, it's going to be a tough time for whoever's having to face off against that. Another lane that I'm somewhat worried about, but we have some action in the bottom lane. I may have to get back to my point in a moment, as Hope chases Dem Boys back. But yes, another lane that I'm somewhat worried about is also Ace. I talked at the end of the draft for a moment there, before we loaded into the match, about how I was worried that Ace would have difficulty fighting these teamfights on Katarina against such a CC-heavy matchup. Woo, that's a flash from Draven. Dem Boys respecting the hell out of Hope.
Yeah, that's really pivotal. I mean, they're both ADCs in the bot lane. They are immobile, so that's actually really huge still. Be able to bully around a Draven like that, but hold on, we have a little bit of action in the jungle here.
Yeah, this could be really bad for the King. That's first blood going over to XY. Already, this is Kansas University out the gate, incredibly aggressive, not only in one lane, but kind of across the board here. And not really surprisingly, they are the ones somewhat favorite to win this matchup. They've yet to lose a series, and actually, if they manage to pull through and win this one here, they guarantee themselves a spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, it's a very big match for them. They still have a chance to get back into the playoffs, even if they lose this one, but you don't want to have to take that second chance. You just want to get it in the first try. But in the top lane, Chinny, he took a lot of damage here from I Am
Flash
Neil.
forward from Neil. The auto comes down. It's enhanced not only with the Nautilus passive, but also the shield passive. However, the replenishing effect of the health potion was enough to keep Chenny alive. And XY has roamed his way up top lane. He could handle this kill solo if he needed to, but Chenny is there for a little bit of backup, not only the Ignite, but also those knives coming through at a bolus to finish it off.
Yeah, and he was sitting on a ward. He had a ward on his warding totem. He did not end up using that in the top lane. You can't do that at 4 minutes into the game, knowing there's a Rek'Sai who could just tunnel into you. That's just an ill-advised way of playing top lane. You have all the opportunity in the world, and you also, by the way, you also know that they were just in the top side of their own jungle. So. Or in the enemy's jungle, actually, his own jungle. So you know that he's going to be up there pretty soon, especially if you overextend like that, getting greedy for a kill, blowing your flash, and not being able to get it. So, I mean, very nice play by Kansas. They end up taking that kill in the top lane and giving one over to Chinny. So he's going to be starting that snowball.
Yeah, and we talked about the matchup a few moments ago, and we've got some time here as well as we get into a little bit of a sepia tone for the pause. That is when it's most critical for the Rengar to get the kill, and he was at a disadvantage there. Neil had pushed him back, had nearly gotten the kill, but just a little bit of an overextension, not enough vision on the map, and Chenny's going to start the snowball right back in Neil's direction once again. Be interested to see what he comes back to lane with. It's going to be a lane to watch, that's for sure. As we count down this pause, though, I would like to just take note of exactly how far XY has gotten, or Zai. I'm not sure whether I should be phonetically pronouncing that or saying
I was wondering
letters.
that too.
But
yeah,
one way or another,
yeah.
the Rek'Sai, however you say the player's name, the Rek'Sai has gotten so just almost disgustingly far ahead of this Vi pick, which you already said you were a little worried about because it isn't really too strong in the current meta.
Right. I mean, Vi does play the role that Vi is built for, diving to the back line and getting into your carries. But yeah, you're still kind of squishy, and you have a lot of protection on the side of Kansas for Paw Su. I mean, Hope by himself with Karma can easily protect Varus, or I don't think you'd be protecting Ace unless Ace is gonna stick, hang back and wait for the opportunity to use all those Katarina abilities that you were talking about. I mean, it is kind of hazardous with all the CC for Katarina to jump in, do Death Lotus, but if you wait and sort of pick off after all the dust settles, that's when Katarina thrives. So yeah, the King, I mean, has some targets, but I mean, you also have a lot of protection on the side of University of Kansas.
Yeah, I think the mid lane, speaking of targeting, is going to be where Kansas State has to start to rally a little bit, because they've already got the advantage there against Ace. If the King can just hit level 6, it's a ways off in the future now, he's 2 levels behind XY, but if he can just hit level 6, come mid lane, and maybe snowball that lead a little further, get an advantage for his side somewhere, I think maybe there's a way back into this one for Kansas State, but they are keeping this Vi down. Look at where Rek'Sai is right now, coming into the bottom lane, maybe going for a tower dive, stealing away jungle camps. Just unrelenting aggressive play from KU.
Yeah, and that's one of the big advantages of playing the Rek'Sai. You have that bullying power. I mean, Vi early on isn't as strong as a Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai obviously has the true damage on her side and can still get away quite easily too. Flash blown in the mid lane though. Hold on.
KU8's going to be coming right back in though. The Ignite burning, and he gets the kill back onto Mask Link. That has to be so demoralizing for Kansas State, because this was their one shining hope. The mid lane was the one lane that was winning. And now suddenly Ace has 2 stacks on the Dark Seal, he's back even in CS, and he's got a kill.
Yeah, and both summoners are blown for both sides in the mid lane, but well, hold on. That was a dragon taken by Kansas. That was the Infernal Drake too, so that's actually gonna be pretty huge going into this. If Ace was able to do that through the exhaust to Mask Link 12, having just a little bit more power from that Infernal Drake, it's gonna help him even more. So yeah, that lane, the 8% power spike is going to, I think it's gonna tilt in the favor of Ace pretty heavily from here on out.
Good damage on the Dem boys. They've been keeping this Draven back really well. We haven't talked too much about the bottom lane as of yet, because it's been rather unexciting. Just Dem boys getting outranged and Chilling being unable to really exert much pressure on the Janna, which is an interesting pick in my opinion to go alongside the Draven. Doesn't really seem to synergize all that well, but it is going to be able to protect him later on in the game, which at this rate he may very well need.
Ace jumping around. That's actually a really clever way to play against the Corkies, just jumping around as much as possible. But you were talking about Draven and Janna synergy. I mean, yeah, I mean, Janna traditionally does protect whoever, of course, she's paired with, but you're Draven, you're pretty aggressive. You want to get that raw power out. And that's why I was surprised that Zyra wasn't picked in the first place, because Zyra would have been great with a Draven in order to dish out as much damage as possible, but not going to be doing it here. And we see more counter jungle coming out of University of Kansas, and 31 CS right now to 47 in the jungles. The King is just not where he needs to be right now. 2 levels down, actually. We hear the farm alarm coming out. That means that Rek'Sai, I mean, the Rek'Sai level 6, obviously, it's not that powerful because it's just a farm alarm kind of thing, travel across the map. But it is keeping the King down, and that map presence is going to create a lot of pressure against Kansas State.
Yeah, and it's indicative, really, of the just sheer amount of advantage that XY has built up at this point. He's 2 levels up over the King. A few moments ago, we saw that sort of just visualized perfectly for us when King was barely able to take down his Krug camps while XY was happily stealing away a blue buff from the opponent's jungle. Just the 2 complete opposite ends of what jungling can be displayed in this match here. And that is probably going to be enough for KU to just outright push to a victory this game if something doesn't change, if they aren't stopped in their tracks in some way by Kansas State.
Yeah, and speaking of being stopped in your tracks, I think University, hold on, we have a gank in the top lane.
Yeah, there's the flash on Burrow, and we had a
so
gank.
quick.
It didn't last very long.
Oh my gosh.
Neil doesn't last very long either. It evaporated in a moment.
Oh, he doesn't have any tanky stats yet. He just has the Doran's Ring and Corrupting Potions. All of his Corrupting Potions were down, I believe, and the tanky stats is just health from the Doran's Ring. So he's a pretty easy target. I mean, he's a Nautilus, and traditionally Nautiluses are tanky, but you still have to be tanky. You have to build tanky items, especially against Rengar, who's now 1-0-2, and that actually gives First Blood turret gold over.
There's the Death Lotus for Ace, but the first ulti of the game for the King, and it will result in a kill. That's a good start, getting back on track here for Kansas State.
And that's exactly what University of Kansas was trying to do, is keep the King away from that level 6 as much as possible for as long as possible, because once he was able to hit that, they knew he could be able to gank somewhere and make it a lot more effective with the Assault and Battery. So, it was delayed by actually a couple of minutes, but you see that first gank already at level 6, well, past level 6, and it was pretty successful. So they're going to try to keep that one up. It's the first kill on the board for Kansas State, and that's exactly what they needed to at least get their momentum back, at least maybe even raise their morale. But it's still an uphill battle for them. They're losing almost every lane. Mid lane is doing a little bit better, especially with that gank. Mask Link now up on CS against Ace, so that's going to help him out quite a bit. And he is building wisely against Ace, taking up with the Hex Drinker. Usually don't, you don't, especially as a Corki, you want to hit that mid-game power spike as fast as possible with that Triforce, the Trinity Force, but you kind of have to build something as a squishy ADC in the middle, something to defend against Katarina, and Hex Drinker is a perfect item for him.
Yeah, the item is just so economically efficient that it really just doesn't make sense to build much else, at least early on. I like, over the last few minutes, that we've seen a little bit more life from Dem Boys as well. He's playing slightly more aggressive as Ace Shun Po's under the turret for some good damage. But yeah, Dem Boys, now that he's hit that serrated dirt, has been able to gain a little bit more control in the lane. As we can see, he's rushing forward towards Pazu now. There's a teleport coming in, the exhaust down onto Pazu. This is the CC train that they're trying to get rolling. Pazu, even with both summoners burned, is still in real danger here, but they've bought enough time for XY to show up. Hope is now going to be playing the front lines, trying to keep this fight rolling. Not really minding losing a few hundred more hit points if it means that XY can show up, because he is such a powerhouse now. But the fight will fizzle out, neither side with any casualties. But that was a bit more investment from the side of Kansas State as they pulled that teleport in. And the reinforcements for the side of Kansas University was just the jungler who happened to be in the area.
Yeah, I mean, Pazu did lose both of his summoners, so he is going to be vulnerable in that bot lane, but he is a Varus, so he can farm from behind pretty easily, or at least farm from the distance. And that was a very nice play with the Chains of Corruption, keeping both Dem Boys and Chilling just far enough away in order to get away. And yeah, like you said, I am Neil. He had a teleport to the bot lane. That left Chinny in the top lane to just push into that turret, and now he might be trying to jungle, invade the jungle, maybe looking for a kill in the mid lane, but I don't think he's going to get it. Mask Link is going to be going back, but that is going to allow Chinny to just take more of the King's farm, which means the King has to rely on ganks in order to get progress in this game.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have any farm left to take to progress in levels and get gold anymore.
And I think the next few Vi ganks, the next Vi Ultimate in particular, is going to be so very critical to Kansas State being able to come back into this game, if they are in fact able to, as XY is bravely going after the Volcanic Drake all by his lonesome. He does manage to secure it. If he can just get to that tunnel, he can get out in time, but no, the King's gonna stop him. Slammed down into the dirt, and that is gonna be one kill back traded for the Dragon. Now the King, though, caught in the pit along with Chilling. The resets are there. It's a double, potentially now a triple, as Shun Po brings the kill home. And a flash forward from Hope. They're not letting anybody survive this massacre. Kansas University are taking home a quadra.
Oh my god, give them an inch and they take a foot. That was amazing. And that was a great play by XY. Able to secure the dragon. That was your mission as that jungler. Secure the dragon, get that second Inferno Drake. That is a massive amount of power spike. That went from an 18% power, or 8% power spike to a 16% power spike, and everything was blown on XY and Chinny, the exhaust and the assault and battery both. So that allowed Ace to just come back and, like I said before, hang back, make sure everything's used, and then launch themselves forward. Launch Ace forward, launch Katarina, use the Katarina kit as much as possible, and get those assassination kills. Oh my god.
It looked like it could have been something of an overextension, and chilling coming up to the lane could punish it, but Janna isn't exactly known for her ability to chase down kills, more usually the opposite. The flash in from XY does get interrupted. Very nice Howling Gale from Chilling. Unsure if that was on purpose, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
It was beautiful no matter what.
Yeah, it worked out really well, one way or another. And Masculine could have this kill. Ace is playing with fire here. There's the Valkyrie, it's the shutdown, but it's a 1-for-1 trade. And I guess that's okay. XY now caught in the red buff. However, Chenny's going to be coming leaping down from the top lane, and the King is just tissue paper when compared to the strength that is this Rek'Sai right now. It's a triple kill for the jungler.
And University of Kansas, they are just running away with this one. They snowballed the mid lane. I wouldn't say they snowballed the top lane. This is a 107 Rengar. You don't see the Rengar with 7 assists that often, but
you gotta also consider the nearly 50 CS lead as well. Like that represents a lot of gold.
Yeah, no. There's a huge amount of power on the side of University of Kansas right now. They are taking it to Kansas State and solidifying themselves in this rivalry as the best collegiate League of Legends team right now in their division. And like I said, they're running away. Both dragons, 4 turrets. They've gotten every objective. And they have 12 kills right now. They are over 10k gold up at 15 minutes against Kansas State. It is a best of 3, so Kansas State, they have a chance to come back. Have to look at the picks and bans. I especially want to look at their picks because, I mean, the Vi, I just don't agree with the Vi jungle. We're seeing why she's just getting run over constantly from not only XY, but Chinny as well. So this is a huge detriment to him.
I think you're right. I mean, in saying, at the very least, that the jungle is going to be the focus over this series, because it seems like that's the key to just unlocking this game for Kansas University. They had early focus on that jungle. They kept the King back. He's still down 3 levels. You can see the ramifications of that if you just look at levels, gold, any of really the numerical indicators for success. He's behind in every single one of them, and that's been such an effective strategy. Just the auto attack alone from Chenny nearly chunked him down to half there.
Yeah, Chinny, he's going a little bit behind enemy lines there.
Oh my god, Ace with the solo double kill, the solo triple, the solo quadra kill! My voice can't handle it, and neither can Kansas State.
The only reason why I didn't get a penta on that is because I Am Neil was top lane. His teleport's not up. That means bot lane is completely vulnerable to University of Kansas.
It's really not good when your immobile AD carry is 1v1ing the tank top laner, only just barely, but he managed it.
That's a clean. That's not a clean ace because they actually did take out Ace. Kansas State actually did take out Ace.
It was an ace for an ace.
It is an ace for an ace, but I think the ace is definitely in favor of University of Kansas in that one. They were able to pick up the bot lane turret, and the top lane turret, inner top lane turret, is actually vulnerable as well now too. And why not take that one too, Octavian?
I mean, at this point, you say the top lane turret is vulnerable. At this point, everything is vulnerable for Kansas State. They really don't have anywhere safe left to run, appropriately enough against a team that's fielding Rek'Sai and Rengar.
Right.
And
I was gonna say, and the third dragon's gonna come up pretty soon, and it's another Inferno. And if University of Kansas can pick this one up, and there's really nothing that Kansas State can do to come back into this one. They just have to focus on game number 2.
And yeah, game number 2 is really all they've got left at this point, and they're going to be a game down. Like, they've got to hone in a little bit more in the jungle. A little bit more, particularly on the early play in the jungle, because XY just had free reign. Really, I don't think past the first buff clear that the King was given a single one of his buffs. He got 2 buffs this whole game, which is just absurd.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's 18 minutes in. Yeah. Even if he did get a buff, it's probably been taken away from him anyways. More likely by Ace, who's still going in here. Yeah,
this may be a bit of an overextension, though. Ace does manage to trade the kill back, but 1 for 1 just isn't really worth it. I'd say he's worth a little bit more than the Nautilus at this point. As Demboys gets chunked by a piercing arrow.
Those piercing arrows hurt so much. He only has a straight dirk and a pickaxe. Oh, he does have. Hold on, no. He does have a Yuma's Ghost Blade. Never mind.
And the mid lane inhibitor turrets is going to be
yeah.
forfeit here. There's a flash on Burrow, landing on the 2. There's the Chains of Corruption as well, spreading through Kansas State as Chenny is running rampant, though a Assault and Battery is going to try to stop it. There's a flash forward from Demboise. He does manage to trade 1 kill back, but now he's caught out in enemy territory, which is basically just the whole map at this point. And he's going to be hunted down easily.
Oh, he almost got to the exploding flower, but it wasn't gonna happen. And now the blue buff is again, because why not, being taken away from Kansas State, just for good measure. The dragon is up. That's the 3rd Inferno Drake that is going to go over to University of Kansas. They have all the power in the world here. I want to talk about items a little bit. Of course, Katarina has that Magi's. Why not? Had the Dark Seal earlier. Was doing well with it. Had 12 stacks on the Magi's until she kind of dove in that mid lane earlier. But already has 3 complete items. If you count the Magi's, it is a very cheap item. But at 6 stacks, it does count almost as a full item at this point. It has the Rylai's and, of course, the Hextech Gunblade, so throwing that one out there too. So it has a huge amount of power, but man, just impressive Katarina play.
The Gunblade alone does so much work for that champion because she does have dual scaling ratios. Most of her abilities scale with both AP and AD. He's going to get caught out here though, and the CC train is real, even just from the Nautilus. As that's 2 kills going over to Kansas State University. A great start to the fight, probably the best they're gonna get, as Chenny's gonna get shut down as well. This is really good for Kansas State, but there's still so much power left, even just in the Rek'Sai and the Varus. Oh, there's the piercing arrow. Pasu gets it, and another snipe off to the right there with XY, landing a Prey Seeker.
Say that you killed 2 damage dealers, you still have Pasu to deal with. Pasu can stay in the back lines. The divers are Chinny and their Katarina and Ace on Katarina. If you use everything on them, then you don't have much left for Pasu, and that's actually a surrender bow coming in.
Just 30 seconds after the 20-minute mark, we're going to be seeing a surrender in Game 1 of our series tonight. A roaring start for Kansas University, and a much more timid one for the side of Kansas State. We're going to be getting into game number 2 as soon as we possibly can, folks. Give us just a few moments here to set the lobby up, and we'll be right back with you.